Welcome to the Sacred Rebellion, the space where truth isn't filtered, sovereignty is sacred, and rebellion is a return to self. This isn't just a podcast, it's a remembering. We're here to break the trance of comfortability, reclaim our gifts, and rise as the embodied rebels we were born to be. Here we journey with the wild hearts, the way showers, and the visionaries who chose their truth over comfort, their mission over fear, and their soul over the system. This is where the coded ones come to speak. The ones who didn't fit in because they were never meant to, and the ones who turned their pain into power and their story into medicine. So drop in, take a breath, and let's remember who we are, one sacred rebellion at a time. Welcome back to the Sacred Rebellion, the space where sovereignty leads, systems are questioned, and the cosmic truth always finds its way home. This week on the Sacred Rebellion, we welcome a true multidimensional oracle, a woman who speaks the language of light, weaves timelines, and channels frequencies from beyond the veil. Althea is a light language channeler, a galactic contact, and Akashic and psychic healer whose soul's path has taken her from Milan to New York, from India to Cape Town, carrying codes of remembrance everywhere she goes. She's a rainbow ray frequency holder, a teacher of energetic mastery, and a guide for those ready to awaken their own divine technology. From working with her 9D Pleiadian self and 12D Mantis, being to decode collective timelines, ancestral wounding, Althea brings more than messages. She brings metamorphosis. Her sessions unlock light language, awaken psychic gifts, and initiate deep trauma healing on a soul level. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's get into it. You've walked many sacred lands from Milan to India to Cape Town. How has your path across the world shaped galactic remembrance and spiritual practices?
Oh, that's a lovely question. Well, first of all, for me, it's really just a matter of trusting. Like, I get sent to places half of the time I don't fully know why I'm going there, and then once I get there, things start clicking into place and I start understanding, oh, I need to do this, oh, I need to do that, oh, I need to go in that place, or I need to go in this place, and I think what has been happening and what's happening, especially a lot this year, I've been noticing with the star seeds, is we all carry specific individual codes that activate in specific individual ways in different parts across different energetic grids and ley lines across different parts of the earth. So I might have a specific code that needs to activate a specific vibrational frequency or open up something in a specific area and way of the earth and of the world. And this is why a lot of people have been called to travel, to move, to navigate, and to expand. And so understanding and learning that on both a conscious and subconscious level is definitely like brought, almost like unlimited expansion within my system, because it's almost like, when you're in this space that you're like trusting and you surrender, then, you can really, really learn and understand a lot. And so it's always really exciting whenever there's a new adventure.
Yeah. I always find it so interesting. My spouse builds power lines for a living, and it's always interesting when all of a sudden he's like ripped from where he's at and like moves, and it's always just like boom, moves. And I always tell him, like, I'm pretty sure you're a grid worker, because he's lived all over putting power everywhere all across the country. It's so fascinating. And then I always find that I have work to do in that place as well. So it's always interesting when you get pushed and pulled in different various places. I always find it really fascinating when people are called to do retreats in certain places. And I think a lot has to do with, like, star codes and different things. So yeah, that's really unique. Can you share a moment when you knew your psychic gifts and dreams weren't just personal, that they were actually part of your mission?
I think from when I was a child, like, I was one of those kids that would like see shadows and couldn't sleep and would like dream of something and then it would happen, or would feel things very, very deeply. So I come from a long lineage of psychic women. My mom is psychic. My grandmother was psychic. She's passed on. She's helping now from the other side. They never took psychic up as a job for a living, but it ran in the blood of the females of my family.
Wow, that's really cool. I have a question. I'm one of those children too. Whenever you slept, did you ever hear, it almost sounded like a music box sound, like right before you went to sleep? Did you ever hear that as a child?
Not that I can think of. I was more like battling demons and clearing people from like possession and things like that when I was like 8, 9, or 10 years old. And like, that was my astral experience. So I was literally fighting with the light for my life.
Yeah. I mean, I can resonate with that too, but it was very strange. I would look at my brother and I'd be like, "Do you hear that sound?" And he's like, "You're crazy. I don't hear anything." So I was just curious because I mean, not everybody's gifted as a child, but like it was like almost like this little like music box, and I actually think it's kind of creepy to be honest with you because it was like, how come I can be the only one that hears this? So I was just curious if
Or
you.
maybe it was connected to the place. It's like, for example, when I was at my grandparents' house in the countryside, I would see a lot more there than when I was in my apartment in the city. So I found that a
Hmm.
lot was connected to the place where I was staying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I just grew up in a haunted house. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. What does being a rainbow ray frequency holder mean to you, and how does it influence your work today?
Yeah, so the way I understand it, it's basically like that's very closely connected to my ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of self. And the way I understand it, it's almost like I work with this energetic healing modality, which is, including the light language and all of that. But how I see it, it's almost like there's a ray of rainbow energy that comes out of my heart center when I do this type of work. It's called rainbow ray imprinting because it has all these different colors, and some of them are like colors that don't even exist here. Like I don't really know how to explain it. And that I feel is part of the essence of part of my soul and my imprinting and my blueprint and my structure.
Yeah. Have you ever taken one of those tests that's like, how many colors do you see in the wheel? Have you ever seen that where there's like,
No.
you should totally do it. It's so
Okay.
fascinating because it was interesting. I did it and then my son took it and he actually could see about 30 more colors than I could see.
Oh,
Which is
wow.
very fascinating. Yeah, I haven't ever done it with my daughter, but yeah, he could see significantly. He's a 2012 baby, so they're a little bit, they're part of that little galactic shift in 2012. But yeah, he could see significantly more color than I could. So I mean, I always find it fascinating. Color is it's interesting to like even be able to perceive, that he could essentially see that many more colors than I could. So you should try to see how many you can
I'll
see.
definitely,
It'll be
yeah, if you send
interesting.
me the link, I'll definitely do it. Thank you.
I always think they're interesting. How do you distinguish between true light and false light in the spiritual space? There's a huge, I'm sure you're seeing it, there's a huge wave of like the split that you're seeing. I mean, I'm seeing, I don't know if you're seeing it, but there's this huge split of like distortion. And, this is the Sacred Rebellion, so podcast. So I'm like, what are you noticing in your experience of life? And how do you distinguish between truth and truth light and false light?
So I think that false light eventually always reveals itself. Like sooner or
Mm-hmm.
later, there's only so much that someone can uphold something if it isn't, in alignment. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've learned. With time and practice and age, also discernment comes along. But I think probably the best way to figure it out, I would say, is listening to the body, because the body's not going to lie to you. The mind, the brain can lie to you, but if someone's presence feels off, or if, in the body it feels like physically like it's constraining you, or weird, or heavy, or dense, then something is genuinely off. So for me, like, I'll give everyone a chance if I don't know them. Like, I don't care what other people say. It's not, I'll always create my own opinion. I'll listen to everyone, but I'm not someone who gets swayed left, right, and center. Like, I'll create my own opinion. And it's happened that there's been times where, someone was presented to me in a certain way, and then they turned out to actually not be like that and be, like a person that felt in alignment with me at that moment in time, but maybe wasn't in alignment with someone else their moment in time. No one is perfect. We all flawed. We all learning, we all healing, we all expanding. I think it comes down to, the someone being humble, someone being wanting to learn. I think humility is a big one to discern, because if someone's like I know this, I know that, I have this information, I have that information, then there's some level of distortion there, because you don't. We know nothing. We think we know, and then we don't, and then we learn more, and we think we know, but we still know like a millionth blah, of a fraction.
Yeah.
And I think, but then again, yeah, the body I think would be a good way of discerning. So for me, yeah, like I just stay always truthful to myself, to how I feel, and listen to my guides and stay present. And it's happened that I've had connections with people that then didn't turn out in a way that was, how can I say, happy. You
Yeah.
live and you learn. And I
Mhm.
think if you don't have any animosity, you can release and let go, which doesn't necessarily mean that you need to forget. I think forgiveness is key, but if someone's harmed you or not been a nice person, then you can forgive them but still keep them kind of like at an arm's length. And I'm very good with my boundaries, so it really doesn't happen much anymore that I find myself in situations where it's like, oh, I get blindsided or anything like that. I'll generally see before, so I don't even engage.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a huge power in being clairsentient. Like when people ask, typically when someone's like, "What's your strongest clair?" For me, it's always been clairsentience. It's like that inner feeling is. I mean, I've been like that my whole life, and I love how you brought that forward. That feeling is really your superpower, right? It's the distinguishing, what did I feel? I don't understand why I feel uncomfortable with this person, but I'm going to follow it because my mind doesn't know, but my body, it doesn't feel comfortable. And I watched a reel the other day, and I just like randomly came up, and it was a woman talking about how she saw her ex-partner, who was very abusive to her, come into the gym, and she immediately started shaking because her body felt that frequency immediately. And I've had that happen a few times in my life where, I mean, I've never been in an abusive relationship like that, but just different people where my body just literally, my light body's like, oh hell no, like not going there, right? And so I think that's really important, that people who are developing psychic gifts and their abilities to be able to channel, is that they learn how to trust their body.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like eventually, you get to a point where, all your clairs are activated and work, and then you just operate from a space of claircognizance. You just know. You don't need to even, tune into the clair because you're in such an embodied alignment that, you just know, like it's just, and then if you're not sure, then maybe go to, the
Yeah.
clair. The example you sent is perfect. And even like walking into a house and feeling like uncomfortable or strange, or like maybe that space is not for you, so don't ignore it. You know what I mean? Like be aware of it. If you're going to someone's house and you're a guest, don't like run away, but
Yeah.
understand, okay, what is this trying to tell me? Maybe someone there isn't happy, or something's going on, or maybe your friend is in an abusive relationship in their house and you don't know. It could be a whole bunch of things. But I think, yeah, it's important we don't get taught to listen to our bodies, and it's really something that we all know how to do. We just need to tune into and remember that we are these perfect machines, and the body will tell you if something's up.
Yeah, it's always so interesting. And when you're able to use your words to be able to express yourself in a way that describes that feeling, I feel like that's just like the next level of being clairsentient, is like the expression attached with the emotional aspects of yourself and being comfortable with those emotional aspects of yourself. I think as society, people often identify different emotions and expressions, quote, bad, right? Like anger and upset and frustrated or overwhelmed. And to me, I feel like they're this beautiful signal that the body essentially communicates to us. We're like, man, that's not going to work anymore. I can feel myself, being upset over something. So what is that showing me? What is there something? And it just shows you those shadows effects of yourself that are expressing something in a way that's healthy. Even if you express yourself in an anger way that's healthy, right? Like I always tell people, I'm like, when the thought came to my head just now was like when Yeshua was in the temple and they were worshiping idols and he got upset and mad. I would tell people, I'm like, do you think they sat there and were like, dude, you were way overreactive. Like that was just not okay.
Yeah.
It's like no one, I bet you no one said that to him. Like, oh my gosh, you're emotional. You were upset because someone crossed your boundaries. Stop being so overreactive. So that's like one of my favorite analogies to share with people, because it's so true how you can perceive an emotion as something that's quote bad, but as a society, it's like those those emotions and those expressions have negative connotation, and so it's always interesting to enlighten people with that perspective, right?
Yeah, I think people like they associate like with their emotions as like I am this emotions. You're not. It's just an emotion. Like it's moving through
Right.
you. You're so much more than your emotion, and that's kind of
Yeah.
like where they get stuck and they loop like, if they're sad, oh, like I'm a sad person. I'm sad. No, you're just sad right now. You're not,
Hmm.
like a sad person. But as you said, each emotion serves its purpose. And I think the mastery lies in the way that you navigate it. So you can navigate it in a healthy way. Oh, I'm angry. Let me go for a run. Or you can navigate it in an unhealthy way. Oh, I'm angry. I'm going to punch my friend. You know what I mean? So it really comes down to sovereignty and how you do move through these emotions.
Yeah. And that's the mastery, right? Like that's what we're as humans, we're here to experience emotions. And I love how you express that, finding a positive aspect to be able to express those feelings. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure you get it. You have a child, so I mean, they have all types of emotions, those children do. And it's always interesting. I had this week someone say, "I don't understand why you let your child have that type of emotion around you. It's so disrespectful." And I looked at him and I said, "I'm not triggered by it. If you were triggered by it, that's not my problem." And it's always interesting because I think people want to control their children, especially with their emotional regulation. But really, the regulation comes from watching us regulate our emotions with our reaction, right, as parents. And I know this wasn't like the topic we were going to talk about, but I think it's really important that parents really understand that your emotional regulation is how your children learn emotional regulation.
Yeah, and it's how you respond to something, and it's really coming from that space. And they have all the tools to regulate themselves. So
Hmm.
I'm the same, like I will allow and surrender and be present and hold space. I think, there's a lot of old school programs that, come through, and a lot of people that, think they know best, and maybe they do in their own reality. But I think, yeah, if we can teach them to co-regulate and regulate themselves before they get to an age and that they can't learn anymore, and if we teach them not to suppress and surrender and allow, and that all emotions are valid, we can really extinguish a lot of vibrational frequency in one generation.
Oh, yeah. What a difference it would make. What a difference it would make in mental health if children were taught how to regulate their emotions by regulated parents. What a world we would change. That right
Yeah.
there would ripple across so many timelines. It'd be beautiful.
We'll get
So when
there.
I get into my next question with you, you do a lot of timeline clearing for both individuals and the collective. Can you explain how that process works and what signs what signs do someone have if they're ready to shift timelines?
Okay, so I mean, on a practical level, when I hop into a different timeline, there's a lot of different signs. Sometimes I'll actually feel the physical hop, and the way that happens is I enter like the void and the nothingness for like a second or 2 seconds or a millisecond or something like that, and everything is like still, and then I anchor into the new timeline. That's how and I'm only really aware and feel it if I'm like either meditating or like about to fall asleep. If I'm navigating my day to day, like it won't happen when I'm like driving, like it's just not practical. It'll happen when you're in a space where, you can make that shift. And then, yeah, generally, like sometimes it happens when there's a lot of synchronicities or things like that. Sometimes it can be as like, finding a new job or entering a new relationship. Astrological shifts can also help when shifting into timelines, portal, numerology, and a whole bunch of those things. But generally, if you're working on yourself and you're raising your baseline vibrational frequency, you will be, hopping into timelines that are more aligned for you. And I think the best way to do that is taking, conscious aligned action, staying in your truth, being mindful of your boundaries and all these things. When it comes to collective timelines, what I do is I will sometimes clear, whole like apocalyptic timelines. It'll work with my grid work as well. When I go around the world and do grid work, that'll clear some timelines. It'll actually just prevent them from happening or neutralize them as well. Make sure that, the frequency is neutral. And that can look like many different ways. Sometimes it's ritual, sometimes it's light language, sometimes it's just meditation, sometimes it's just me walking, somewhere and having a vision and integrating it and then it moving through my system and energy field, because that's what it does. I'm like my body and system is a machine for, taking in low vibrational frequency and raising it into a higher, transmuting, converting, aligning, grounding, balancing, attuning, all these types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been, I think there was a pretty big timeline shift. I believe it was last week. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, well, I've been shifting on a personal level quite a lot in the last month, but definitely there's been collective shifts too.
Yeah, I can concur with that one. Yeah. So like I feel like since March I've been on this like, oh yeah, that's not gonna work. See ya. That's not gonna work. See ya. That's not gonna work. See ya. It's just like
Yeah,
purge since
I
like
had my
March.
birthday month in April, and generally I find that my birthday month they kind of give me a break. But then when May arrived, it was like next lesson, next, quick, quick, quick sort of thing.
You're like, I'm holding on. Thank goodness I have red hair so I can ground my energy because
Yeah,
it just
literally.
I'm jealous of the red hair because I personally was like laid on I have grounding sheets on my bed and I feel like I spend a lot of time just in my bed, just journaling, meditating, listening to music or whatever. And my kids will join in with me, but I'm like, I can feel myself. I don't feel like I'm so high up here or, whatever. But yeah, grounding is, yeah, that's what I think that's how we've survived since March is those grounding sheets. It's been a lot. What collective distortions or wounds do you see surfacing right now on the earth? And what frequency codes are coming in to transmute and heal them?
There's a very, very big womb clearing and reclaiming of the collective distortion of the divine feminine and what it is to be present and embodied within it. That's what I'm seeing, what I've been seeing in the past like month and a half, maybe like 2 to 3 months even. So I see a lot of that. I see a lot of women being lost and a lot of them finding their way. So it's almost like as some kind of like move through their ascension awakening process, others are kind of like rising and rising and rising. So there's a big reclaiming of the sovereignty from, the divine feminine.
Yeah. I've been dealing with a lot of feminine womb stuff. So that's really interesting because I feel like that's just been, the siphoning of the energy has been really, like I've noticed that in my awareness. And also a lot of, I've been actually working on healing womb energy. I have like PCOS, I have hormonal stuff. And so I've been working through healing that. It's very interesting that that's a collective theme because yeah, it's a lot. And I feel like that even as I cycle, they've shifted. So like I have been cycling on the new moon and I don't normally do that. I usually cycle with the full moon. So mine actually shifted, which is very interesting.
So I shift from summer to winter and winter to summer. It's full moon in winter and new moon in summer. That's how mine shifts.
Well, that would
Yeah.
explain why I shifted to new
Yeah.
moon in springtime.
That's how mine shifts. And with regards to PCOS, I used to have it also when I was younger. Do you know how mine went away? When I
How?
went vegetarian. When I went vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
I went vegetarian and I had that. I had like HPV and a few other things, and they all cleared after I stopped eating meat and fish. I'm not saying it's like that for everyone, but that was what
Yeah,
assisted
thank you for
me.
sharing that. I've actually gone vegan for 6 weeks, and it was probably where I felt my best. It was just hard to sustain because I don't eat gluten, and I know a lot of vegetarian and vegan stuff included gluten. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
gonna look into
vegan.
that.
I eat eggs. I just make sure they pasture raised and organic and all of that. Yeah, I seldomly eat cheese, but I'll eat eggs, yeah.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely look into that because yeah, it's affecting my everyday life at this point.
Yeah, I don't think 6 weeks would be. I think it would probably need to be like a year or something like that
Yeah.
to
Yeah, it was
actually
just
see
hard to
like a
sustain
result.
because I live in Idaho, like everybody and their dog, everything's conformed around meat. And so it was really hard if I ever went anywhere to find, anything that wasn't meat oriented, or had meat in it, like even a chili, meat added into it. I make a lot of meatless chili, but my body really enjoys like lentils and beans. And so, yeah, I try to focus a lot on those. So thank you for that help. And anyone who's listening, that's probably going to be helpful because I know I'm not alone in that department. But how do you personally stay grounded when working in high dimensional realms, and how do you clear those traumas?
What do you mean those traumas?
Sorry, clearing dense traumas. How do you personally stay grounded when working in such a high realm, and also when you are clearing those really dense traumas? Like how do you connect the high frequencies with
Yeah.
the lower frequencies?
Okay, so well, first of all, my hair is very red. That definitely helps me with staying grounded. For those of you who are listening and aren't watching, and you see, with me, like I'm just a vessel. I don't take on anything. I work with a team of about 300 beings, and that helps a lot as well. I don't really use I'll use my system and energy field, but I don't like. I hear these people, oh, I do like a few clients, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. And I don't really work like that. As to how I clear the traumas, I just do. Like they just move through me. I just navigate them, whatever it is that's needed. I don't really clear for a client. I'll hold space and then their guides and their system and whatnot does the work. When it comes to my personal stuff, yeah, I'll just channel, I'll use light language, I'll sit in my pyramid. Sometimes it'll come through as like crying, I exercise, I move a lot. It really, really depends. But when I move through big collective clearings, so I had a very, very big collective abandonment wound clearing that I had to move through about 3 weeks ago. That was intense. That I had about a week where I was very emotional. I was having like separation anxiety from everyone, from like my mom, my partner, my child, my dogs, because I was moving through this wound for the collective. So I was feeling it within myself. But because I knew what was going on and I was aware of it, I was able to observe it. Like I still felt it. It still wasn't easy, but it made it easier because I understood what it was that I was moving through and who I was moving through it for as well. So yeah, but every experience and every challenge, everything you move through is different. So it's never like, it's not like one way to do it. Yeah.
And I love how you touched on that after a session you shouldn't feel exhausted or tired, because I think that's pretty common with a lot of practitioners. I'm in the same boat. I don't get tired after having a session. In fact, if anything, I feel like I drank a Red Bull and I'm like all amped up and I get all this energy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm going to go do a session. I'm going to feel so power.
Yeah, literally, yeah, literally. I think not everyone's system operates like this. Like some energy workers operate in a way that their system takes on. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I think if they wanted, they could also operate like we do, because I think we can all do anything and we all infinite beings of light. But it wasn't always like this for me. I think it requires very strong boundaries.
Yep.
Like I can do like 10 clients in a day and I'll still be fine. I'm energized
Yep.
by if when I do clients late in the evening, like I can then shut down my nervous system and go to sleep. I don't struggle to sleep, but I have a lot of energy still. What they do with me is maybe like halfway through the day, if I've got 10 clients, maybe after like 5 or 6, they'll be like, okay, close your eyes. So I'll close my eyes. I'll go in for like maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They'll reset my whole system and then I'll go and I'll be fine to do like another 5 or 10 or whatever many. But that's just like how I work. I don't like, people work in different ways, but yeah, I don't know. Like I used to get, and I was never one who would get like super drained. I would get like a little bit mentally tired, but I think it's like everything, once you've done it for long enough, like you know what you're doing, and if you love what you're doing, you're not really working a day in your life. But I think it's quite an old school common misconception that if you're an energy worker, oh, you must get drained. No, if you have good boundaries, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think there's also another misconception that if you're an energy worker, you typically have something wrong with you. That's another misconception that I think
Oh,
is
I've never heard that one. Really?
Oh, really? Yeah. So I had someone say, "Oh, I've got like she did energy healing in her hands, and she got a tumor in her hand, and she was like, oh, it's from unfiltered energy of someone else's, and so I got a tumor in my hand, and I'm like, I
You're
don't,
not doing it properly.
I don't think you're doing it properly." Yeah, Yeah. But that's, I mean, that is something that we need to bring to light, is the fact that like you shouldn't have liver issues. You shouldn't have kidney issues. You shouldn't get cancer from being a healer, for transmuting all the energy through your body. Because if you're directly connected to source, God frequency, then that energy should be flushing any dense frequency out of you anyways. So I always tell people, I actually did like a wellness thing here where I live, and I just had cleared energy. I did psychic surgery and light language and just cleared energy. And I think it was like almost 40 people in 2 days. Like it was a lot, but it was like 20-minute quick, like just clearing energy. And at the end of the day, it wasn't that I was tired from doing so much energy work. I was actually tired because I was around so many people, and I'm not used to being around a lot of people. I'm kind of a hermit. And so I was tired, not from doing the energy work, but was, I got up early, I left late. Like it was just like being around a lot of people. For me, that was tired. It actually wasn't the energy work, but it was interesting because one of the ladies came up to me and she was really triggered by me. I could feel her energy. And she goes, I hope tomorrow you hire someone to do a Reiki attunement because you're going to need one. And I was like, nope, I don't. It's always so interesting.
The nerve of people, hey? It's like, what?
Right? I was like, okay. I was just shooting frequency and bodies and moving the energy. I don't pull, I can pull energy through my body, but a lot of times it's like, I just have my guides or their guides move energy for them. I don't need to like pull it through my vessel and feel all of their crap and then transmute it. Like, I can, but I don't typically work that way anymore. I did when I was first starting, but I just think it's so interesting, people's perception of what they think is normal.
So for me, I'll work like that when I'm doing grid work. It will come through me. And when I'm doing like a workshop that I'm maybe working on like 200 people or 100 or 50, it will come through me, but only the light, and then it goes out. I don't take any of their stuff. So the light will anchor through me, and that's why I work in a circular way. If you see like my videos of my workshops, I always have people around me. So the light will anchor in me, and then from me, it'll go out to wherever it needs to go. So just the light moves through me. None of their stuff moves through me, basically.
Well, and I've even noticed how you move energy with your hands. You often use a circular motion as well, and you anchor down and use a circular motion. So when you do a lot of light language, I've even noticed you pull energy in, you push energy out, you pull it down, you pull it up. And so, from someone who speaks light language, I kind of notice when the energy works. And I know you and I have done some good work together where you're like, Michelle was over here anchoring this, and I was doing this.
I remember, yeah.
And I was like, that's when you know this shit's real, because when you both can say, oh yeah, I was doing this, and the other person's like, yeah, Michelle was over here doing this, and I was doing this, I was like, yep, that's what I saw too. And then you're actually in the quantum fields together, because you can't make this stuff up, and it's always so funny. I told my husband that story, and I was like, yeah, Althea and I were just doing grid work. She was like, her and I were just teaming up. Like I was doing one part, she was doing the other part. We're just moving together. And he's like, did she see you doing the grid work too? And I was like, yep. And he's like, that's super cool.
It's funny because the masculine has a very different perception. They're like, babe, were you like, I was seeing the geometry. It was like some stars and triangles. And I'm like, yeah, something like that. So you're seeing like 12th dimensional plasmic quantum
right
geometry.
Grid systems all infused with blue coat, like you're doing new blueprints and recoding those blueprints and how you see them. And it's always interesting. People are like, how did you learn that? And I'm like, I kind of got thrown into the wolves. I got invited into this like grid work, team. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm seeing what they're seeing. It's got to be real. And that really helps to learn that way,
And you also, is it you anchor with numbers, hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I remember when we did it. I haven't seen anyone do that. I thought that was quite interesting, eh? That it comes through in numbers sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes in numbers, and also like I get sacred geometry codings and also light language codings. Obviously, you're the same way, but it will sometimes be a light language code with like numbers and then a sacred geometry and then numbers, and they always flow this way instead of like, left or right. It always flows down in, and it doesn't, I've never seen it float up. It's always just flowing down in.
Yeah, it comes down, yeah, because then you anchor it here.
Yeah. And it's always interesting. I get them and then I write down the numbers, and I have like as I'm writing the numbers, I'm just hearing them and I don't even think about it logically. But it's very interesting when you start to add them up that a lot of times you have like patterns of numbers that add up. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you'll have 3, 6, and 9 in it, I would presume.
Yep, 3, 6, and 9. Yep, and in some form,
They would
sometimes
come
like
through, yeah,
12.
that's how I would, because that's the numbers I work with, the 3, the 6, and the 9. So I would presume that it would come, that's it's the perfect ones, So yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll get letters, but I think that's DNA. Actually, to be honest with you, I think the letters are DNA.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I haven't ever seen anyone else work with
No,
numbers
it's
either.
very cool. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I wasn't sure if it was you, and then I was like, no, I think it is her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's me. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it's gotten even, I started working, I was going to ask you next question. I work with 5 Mantis beings, and they use a lot of letters when I work with like the DNA sequencing, which is very interesting. So you work with 9D Palladian version of yourself and then a 12D Mantis being. What has that relationship taught you, and how did that actually come to be? I would love to hear how you started to work with the Mantis being, because mine was very subtle.
No, mine came like to my face. It was back in like when I first started, like 2017, 2018, when my channel first opened. I started working, and my Mantis works a lot with Atlantean energy and codes and timelines. So kind of like part of my Atlantean and Atlantean lifetimes is connected to my Mantis as well. And my Mantis is the geometry code, the written codes that come through. So that's how it comes through for me. And this version of myself, it's like got more of like a masculine energy, but it's not really like a female or a masculine. It's very, very highly evolved. Yeah, it's just been assisting me with these codes like the past like 8 or 9 years or so. But it will generally be the written code that comes through.
Yeah. And I love it when you take a picture of yourself in the light and you draw the light codes. It's so activating. If you don't follow Althea, you should definitely follow her, because her stuff, her graphics and everything are just phenomenal. I've worked with her a couple of times in different group settings, and it's always been, a lot of fun. Her and I typically are in there doing grid work together.
That's one does.
So, the Mantis beings, the first time I experienced them, I was in the bathtub and I was just meditating, because it's like I don't have any disturbances, and my children know if I'm in the bathtub, do not come in. And all of a sudden I felt like this like my light started to flicker in my bathroom, and I felt the energy come through, and I was like, my body was like, it's a lot of energy. And then all of a sudden I could hear him, and I'm like, you look like mantises. And I'd never even heard of a mantis being before. And they're like, yeah, there's 5 of them. And I saw, 2 were green and 3 were like very, very whitish color. They're very white. And
The one I work with is more like a brown chrome color.
interesting.
Yeah, it's like a brownie chromy color. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have I have a green and a white one, and it's feminine and masculine, and it helps balance out those harmonious frequencies. And so they've been recoding, essentially helping me recode my nervous system, which was very interesting. And they bring the energy in the back of the neck through the brainstem and go down the spine. And so my body twitches a lot when I start to move the energy through my body. And yeah, they've been helping me download some new coding systems and different things. So they're fascinating. But
They work with the spinal column. Yeah, they definitely work with the spinal column for me too.
Oh
They've
yeah.
activated my lower, I don't know what it's called, like at the base of my spine. I've had them work on there for me. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I just felt like it was really fascinating. And when they come in, I'm like, the energy is a lot. But yeah, they're interesting. But I had never heard of anyone else working with them until I kind of Googled through different, IGs like mantis beings, because I'm like, am I crazy? I'm seeing no one talks about mantis beings, but I love that you also work with one. Is it a he, or you said it doesn't have an identity? What does it help you with? More of a he energy? Yeah.
Whatever, like it really definitely it just assists me with bringing through my codes, like the geometry codes. And again, as I said, he's connected to my Atlantean timeline. So anything that has to do kind of like technology upgrade, DNA upgrades, it's more kind of like, how can I explain it? It's more a structure type of feeling, while my Palladian version is more like heart centered and emotional. That one is more like, okay, go in this, that. It's more like a structured mass masculine, kind of like go in, get it done, functional sort of thing.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Definitely more structural. And I also see they're starting to download different information of like quantum structures that I've never really worked with either, where like the constructs of the quantum, which is very interesting. I kind of like figuring out things on my own. So I don't take a lot of classes personally because I like just the organicness. And then I kind of look to see, oh, what is this work with other people. But yeah, I've noticed that they work with that too. They're very interesting. And they're a little bit, mine, I just see light. I don't actually see them in, like, I knew they were mantis beings because they told me that and I could kind of see when they showed me. But most of the time it's just an energy of light, which is obviously green and white, which is what I work with a lot, is green and white. So when you activate others into their own psychic gifts, what do you notice is people's biggest blocks or fears? And how do you help them move through that with intention?
So a lot of people come to me and think their third eye is blocked. Like 95% of people's third eye is actually open. They actually have issues in the lowest chakras, and because the energy flows from the bottom up, it's a toroidal field, it won't get to the higher chakras, so they'll struggle with that. Grounding, a lot of people are scattered. Empowerment, self-love, self-trust, being able to surrender, also abandonment wound, throat, speaking the truth, boundaries. So I mean, there's quite a lot of like standard textbook things, and lessons that you need to navigate and move through. So I generally just tell them, like, if you're struggling with boundaries and you don't know where your healthy boundaries are, rather put them really high and then slowly take them down till you're at a point where you're happy, and then I teach to kind of like speak your truth. And when you're speaking, make sure your thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. You're saying something, you're doing it, just like be in integrity, in everything that you do, and everything will align from that, and then also, releasing attachments. Like if something is not meant for you, like surrender, allow for it to go. Don't try to hold on, because you're just gonna create yourself more damage. And what I say, like what I do, like I don't really do much. Like, yes, I'll take aligned action here and there, but I generally just listen. I'm just very good at listening. So if you get good at listening, then you're going to start navigating your life from a space that is in alignment. To be able to do that, you need to be grounded and present. You can't be busy talking, thinking about the past or the future. You need to be here in the now, because or else you're going to miss the signs and what your guides are going to say to you. So focusing on the grounding, I would say focusing on the root and the throat would be like really important. And then understanding that boundaries are the highest form of self-love. So that helps with regulating the heart center and making sure that you're in that space where you are operating from a space of unconditional love, for yourself first. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. Your cup needs to be full before you go and do anything else.
Yeah. And saying no, the power of yes is just as, it's just as important to learn the power of no. And I think people often say yes too often, like they want to stay busy. It's that nervous system where if I stay busy, then I can avoid what I have to feel in my own space. That's, I've seen that a lot in clients, is the avoidance attachment. So how do you personally define ascension, and what are the biggest misconceptions you see around it?
That some people are going somewhere and some people are going somewhere else. But are my parents going to come with me? Is my friend going to come with me? Like, you're not going anywhere. So that's one that I see quite a bit. I think, like, guys, just be kind, be gentle, be caring, set your boundaries, and you won't have anything to worry, We've entered the lower tiers of positively polarized fourth dimensional density. Like, we're going there, we're getting there. Some of us are already operating from a 5D frequency while, living in the 3D reality. Just know that doesn't matter what happens, you're always moving forward. You can't be moving backwards. Once you on this process, you can't go back. Like, it's counterproductive to the evolution. It's not really going to happen. You're just going to move forward, unless you decide to, I don't know, be like a murderer or something like that, then you'd probably step backwards. But if you're living a normal life, doesn't matter what happens to you, you are going to be moving forward. So yeah, I don't really think there's a way that you can define it. I think it's just, everyone's individual experience, and there's certain lessons that everyone needs to learn and navigate. Like, as we said, the boundaries, the self-love, the self-trust, the sovereignty and all of that. And once those are learned and firmly in place, then, it's just, upgrading from there.
Yeah. I it's always interesting to hear people's perceptions on, the ascension process of, oh, the Flash is just going to come and we're all just going to jump into this new timeline. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, I don't feed into any of that. Like, 'cause, yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. There's been multiple flashes. These are gonna be. You have to do the work. You have to do the embodiment aspects of yourself, and you have to embody the shadow and the light. And it's not gonna just be this mentality we have in society. Is this quick fix? Quick fix. And what people don't realize is, you beat yourself up for 30 years. It's going to take some energy and time and commitment to unravel all of that for 30 years, or 10 years or whatever it is. But the point of it is you're the deciding factor of your reality. And whether that is moving into higher frequencies in the ascension timeline, I always tell people there's no right or wrong direction. The GPS is going to take you to the end result regardless of which way you go.
Yeah. And you know how difficult your lessons are. That's where your free will lies. You still have to do lesson A or lesson B. How you navigate lesson A and lesson B is, where your power lies. And if you're listening and you're grounded in your present, lesson A and lesson B are going to be easy. If you're not, and you're resisting and you're opposing and, then the lessons are going to be harder. So it's up to you how difficult the lessons are, basically.
Yeah. So what message do you want to, I'm going to let you kind of do your light language thing and give a transmission for the collective. As I'm saying that, the light in my room just flickered. So I'm excited to see what comes through. I'm just going to sit back and receive. And those that are listening, do not be driving while listening to this. Make sure that you're in a safe space because you can get lightheaded with light language.
Yeah, so just closing your eyes and anchoring into the body as you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light, and with every exhale you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax body, system, and energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, Sandalphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves, our spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in this space. Remember to listen with your heart, surrender, and allow. Kurokoa triya ishinayatra. Kurokoa triya tre kurokot krai ishinayatra. Kraya tre tre kurokumai seraishi. Opening systems. Opening. Shito kurokotai. Hoarding, detangling, removing, clean, releasing. Anchoring more light, divine anchor, grounding. As you gently ground back to the body and come back to the physical vessel, maybe moving your fingers or your toes. You can choose to stay in process or open your eyes and come back to the present moment. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I had lots of energy move through my spine. That felt good. It was like
Amazing.
Pulled it right through. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little lightheaded right now as I'm grounding my own energy. Is there anything else you have happening soon this summer that people can maybe come to an event or class that you have going on that you'd like to share?
Sure. So I've got quite a few things coming up before the end of the year. I've got a retreat that's happening in Bali in September. I've got a few slots left for that. It's going to be really powerful. It's going to be 6 nights, 7 days. There'll be a lot of activations, a lot of light language. It's called Galactic Blueprint Activation and Akashic Timeline clearing. So we're going to go really, really deep in ancestral traumas, karmic traumas. And then you literally are going to be with me all day, every day. So whatever you need, if you have questions, I'll literally just channel them for you. And it was a lot of fun. I did a Costa Rica one last year. And, some people that were on that one are actually coming back to Bali as well. But yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. So that's from the 13th to the 19th of September. I've got an online event called Galactic Conference happening on the Lionsgate portal. So that'll be on the 8/8. That's $44. And you can find those, the link on my website. And then I have a light language and ascension training that's going to be happening in LA early next year. I'm only taking 10 people and there's already a few slots that have been filled. So you can either email me or you can go on my website and have a look for that. This is a once, I'm not doing this again. I'm doing this time, and it's not I'm going to be doing trainings once a year or anything like that. I'm doing it once, and who's meant to be there will be there, and I'll teach you everything that I know. It's also 5 days and Monday to Friday, and it's going to be, I think, from 9 to 3 or 4 p.m. There'll be a lot of activations. I'm going to have some guests come in and do some work as well. So it's really, really exciting. And yeah, I'm still doing my 6-week and 6-month programs. That's individually tailored. I've got collective healings up every month, and I've got about maybe 30 to 40 different workshops up on my website. I am doing business coaching as well if anyone's interested in starting the spiritual business, anchoring into abundance, and all of these lovely things. So yeah, you can just follow me on my Instagram, Light Codes by ALA, or my website, althealucrezia.com, or my YouTube, Althea Lucrezia.
All right. And we'll also have those links in the description.